uncomfortable political reality for India specifically. Because, constitutionally we are secular.
Yes.
Now this word secular was added later, as I understand. Not only that, compositionally, demographically, we are secular. I think we have probably the largest or second largest Muslim population in the world living in our country. And as much as this is a function of Islamism, it sort of, why I'll tell you, there's also a lot of rife discussion on local Kashmiris and how much their support to this was, and a lot of people turning on Indian Muslims as a function of this too. And I want to understand if your adventures into Kashmir, or for that matter into national security, have put any light to this effect.
No, so see, Kashmiri loyalties have sort of
Shifted.
ebbed and flowed according to the political situation, according to the contest. And they've always felt that they're different from rest of India. Even from rest of the Muslims in the rest of India. Kashmiri Muslims have always felt that way. So that is a reality. Cannot ignore that. Now, the discourse about what Kashmiri Muslims feel about India right now, I'm telling you, the fundamental bread and butter issue is that whether I will have my livelihood carried on, livelihood being fulfilled uninterrupted. So the ordinary Kashmiri, if you go and speak to him, he will say, I wanted to do this. There will be a certain percentage amongst the Kashmiri Muslims who will say, no, we have to also support the cause of Islam, and we should think of Pakistan as our alternative. They will be there. You cannot take that away. That is there. Now, how much does the Muslim in the rest of India support Kashmir? They probably don't support the Kashmir cause, but they support religion in that sense, that we are same religion. So today, a Bengali Muslim in Bangladesh may not have anything in common with the Kashmiri Muslim, right? But deep down somewhere he'll say he's my ideological cousin or co-religionist. So let me, in a very circular way, in a very oblique way, support the Kashmiri cause. So that used to be the fashion at one point, that anything to do with Islam, any Islamic cause, the world over would be supported by everybody. But today, I think we said it in the first interaction that we had, today Saudi Arabia, UAE, the fountainhead of Islam, the guardians of Mecca and Medina, are closely aligned with India, which is quote-unquote Hindu majority India, even if secular. Why? Because ultimately economics also prevails. And I personally believe over the years, over decades, that all this political tamasha that happens of dividing Hindu and Muslims and all that is actually a political tamasha. It comes down to basics. You will see people, as long as they are well-fed, they are getting their livelihood, they will not bother so much about the ordinary Muslims in India also. But they are used. Then there are fanatics within that community which will then identify the cause of Gaza, Hamas. They'll identify the cause of any of the other ideological fights that are happening in Saudi Arabia or Yemen or anywhere. So it's a very complex situation, and India is probably the unique country which has this kind of a complex situation.
Yeah, DNA is very. It's a melting pot in a true sense,
and
it
so
produces.
That diversity can never be taken away.
Right.
And it will continue. I mean, you will have these clashes. They will have communal clashes used to be so common in our childhood and in my teens that you just sort of took it as
granted,
frequent occurrence.
Yeah.
That you took. Then it turned into terrorist attacks in the
early
decade,
2000s.
Early 2000s, the decade of that. There were no. I'm not saying there were no bomb blasts earlier, but communal riots were more commonplace than terrorist attacks. So I told you, I think in the first conversation again, that nobody talks about the Ahmedabad communal riots in 1969. I was all of 7 that time, and I still remember very vividly some images that I saw which were horrifying for a child in 1969. And just go back and research how many people were killed in that point in time. But what we talk about communal riots in India, mostly 2002 in Gujarat. So, there are realities, there are factors which cannot be ignored, and nobody should brush them under the carpet. But the reality is also that India has survived. India has been resilient through all this. The largest communal conflagration happened in the partition, during the partition in 1947 and beyond.
Right.
So many people were killed on both sides. So we have survived and we will.
What is the worst possible scenario that can happen from here, from a security standpoint, from a national interest standpoint?
No, so if India doesn't take any demonstrative action,
Right.
then its prestige, its standing goes down. Prime Minister Modi's image gets a dent. That's the
That's not
political.
gonna happen.
That's gone. So that will not. And also, if you don't take a punitive action against the Pakistani army, it will get further emboldened. So you have to do something between the final option, which was demonstrated during the Balakot strike, that people used to say, if you do this, if you do an airstrike, if you dare cross your fighter jets into mainland Pakistan, Pakistan will use nuclear option. Their ministers used to threaten, their former army men used to threaten, but nothing of the kind happened. So tomorrow, if India exercises one of the kinetic options, which I don't know which one, could be anything. And if they do that, will Pakistan try and escalate? Is it in a position to do it? Economically, no. Financially, no. Politically and socially, no. So we'll have to wait and watch what happens.
Tell me what you think of my thought. I think there is just no way, unless there is a grand strategic play and unless Modi and his cabinet are willing to run a very long media campaign. Because, see, I don't think the people are going to be placated.
No.
Right? No. People are going to demand it. It's on brand for Mr. Modi.
Absolutely.
Prime Minister Modi is going to find a way to do this.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
So there is going to be some kinetic
Absolutely.
action. As far as you saying whether Pakistan is financially, economically, militarily, socially ready to do it, no. Which all the more tells me that they have nothing, nothing
to lose.
Yeah, there's a more desperate dog attempt that
that's
they
why
might
I
do.
started off with.
And so the worst, could you not see the worst case being that there is a full-scale escalation?
No. I won't do that because to sustain a war, to prosecute a war beyond even a week, it's not in Pakistan's capacity right now.
They don't have the economic prowess for this.
So, see, the reality of war is that you need ammunition, you need supplies, you need your equipment to be fully functional, you need constant support from the world, which Pakistan has lost over the years. There are no backers anymore. Unquestionable backers except China and North Korea. I don't see anybody backing Pakistan.
And where do you think is China in all of this?
China is watching. They've condemned it all right officially. That's par for course. But it will also be very happy that if India can be tied down by Pakistan into this spiral of violence, then India's economic progress gets retarded, which benefits China.
Right.
Indirectly. That China will always, they've always tried to do this.
There is also this, and I don't know if I'm seeing it right now, there seems to be an allyship building between the United States and India because United States and China are going head to head somewhat. And we had discussed previously that there is an alternate where they crack a deal, but let's leave that out for now. And it would seem that it's in China's best interest if a lot of the manufacturing overload that the United States is interested in shifting from China to other parts of the world. India would be prime benefactor, at least it's in prime position to claim benefit from this. That it might be in China's interest if America does not see India as reliable and secure, because then the United States. Do you think that might be
one of the motivating factors?
Yeah, if that might be in the background.
Yeah, but see, China again, it could have done this when Pakistan was stronger, when Pakistan was in a position to do all this. Today, the asymmetry between what I call the differential between India and Pakistan is unbridgeable. So therefore, it's difficult for Pakistan to match India bullet for bullet, missile for missile, aircraft for aircraft. With China, yes, India has to be careful for any full-fledged war because China is 5 times India's economy, 3 times India's military. So right now is not the time to, like you would say, take panga with China. And India, in any case, like I said, is not an expansionist power, so it will not initiate an aggression.
Right.
So therefore, that's the reality as far as wars are concerned.
What is the best case scenario from here?
Best case is that you punish Pakistan in a demonstrative way and it doesn't retaliate. Like it has happened in the
With
past.
Balakot
and even Uri, they couldn't do. Uri particularly, they didn't do anything. They just swallowed the humiliation and kept quiet. And even in Balakot, they tried to send some airplanes. Unfortunately, that Indian pilot sort of had to eject over Pakistan,
Right.
and therefore he got caught, and they got a
Media
excuse.
bite.
They got all that. But otherwise, there was nothing that they could really escalate, and they knew it. So that's what will happen, because India will have to do it. Both sides have their compulsions, and they will have to carry out that without a delay. Much delay. I won't say without 48 and 72 hours. I would be a little surprised if it happens, because you have to give it time for planning. You have to also look at, you have to talk to your allies and big powers and friends. All that will happen. After that, India will do something.
And is it not the case that if India retaliates against Pakistan, because Pakistan can always say these are non-state actors, boss.
Sure.
Now you retaliate. This is an act of war,
Yeah.
right? My thought is, I think this happened in Uri or Balakot, I don't remember which, where Pakistan also tried to send airplanes to our airspace and then we chased them out.
Post Balakot, yeah.
Right. And in that, if there is a skirmish there and we hit a point of no return, is there a possibility, scope for any of that Pakistan finds a way to make this bigger?
They will want to. And like I said, this is the trap. Now India has to sidestep that trap and yet do what it wants to do. So that's the challenge that the Modi government faces. And let's see how it meets that challenge.
Guys, if you're interested in more content like this, where it actually makes you think and explore how you think inside your head, dude, subscribe, man.